Hello and welcome to another episode of Israeli Adventures. Hey, Beni Levin.
Shalom, or how are you?
Shalom. Great. I'm great. Thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, perfect. It's always fun to have some kind of I'm excited for those episodes because we share our knowledge about Israel.
Exactly. And we let a lot of people inspiration to come and travel Israel, which is the best thing ever. Let me just introduce you. You are the founder of Let Travel and co-founder of Go My Ever and Black Flamingo. So today we're going to talk about a very, very important question that you probably get 20 times a day at least, is how do I plan my Israeli trip? This is what I'm going to talk about today, about all the logistics, about the flights, about the hotels, about the traveling, about group travel, about solo travel. All of that is going to be on today's episode. So let's start from the beginning, from the flights. So can I ask you, how do I get the best flight to Israel? When is the time to book it? How to book it to get the best price?
Okay, perfect. So first of all, flight to Israel from all over the world. Look, my main expertise is from North America, like United States, Canada. Today we have pretty much all the big companies flying to Israel. So it's not anymore like a direct flight is with El Al, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like we have Delta, American Airlines, everybody, Air Canada, they all fly directly to Israel. So it really depends where you're from.
And I just want to say a connection is not such a bad idea because it's a big travel, especially with kids. It could be 12 hours, 13 hours on a plane. It's not the best thing ever. So getting a few hours layover in some European capital is also a very nice thing, in my opinion.
I think you're completely right. We have a lot of people that traveling, our guests that are stopping like in Madrid, or in Italy somewhere, in Milano or in Rome for a day or two, doing a layover of few hours where you're not getting out of the airport. It's just many times not fun. You are in a stress. Do I gonna make it? Do I gonna arrive? If my flight leaving late? So I always recommend, if you can, fly direct, okay, to Israel. If you do a layover, do it for a few days. Really enjoy the layover. So when you arrive to Europe, you stop for a day or two or three, and then you come back on the flight. You already fought jet lag. You're arriving to Israel fresh. So
yeah, that's the best idea for sure. Yeah.
For me, I use that trick a lot. I think a lot of people that are listening to us, they have some kind of miles or some points on different, airlines, credit cards. So I don't want to choose any one of them. But even me, that I have a very good, a lot of points on El Al. We are in Israel. This is our international carrier. I not always fly with El Al because at the end, I know that the best time today to book a flight, and they have very smart algorithms for that, is or like 11, they usually open up the sales of the tickets about a year before, like 11 months and 26 days. That's most of the companies, that's the time that they are opening their ticket, like a year in advance. And the best time is this first 2 months. So if you are planning and you're like long-term planner, this is the best time to buy your tickets, like buying them a year to 10 months in advance.
And one more tip is that if you know that you're going to travel in specific airline, you can do register to their club, and then you can get some more discounts if you are part of their club. Usually it's free, and you get miles from that booking. You can get miles 2 times from your credit card and from the company.
Perfect.
And then you also get some more discount, which is always nice.
And then the other part that is very interesting is that in the last 2 months, they start to have better prices than in between, because statistically most of the people plan their travel around the world. Not only like Israelis are actually a phenomena because they plan 5 months in average in advance their travel, but we're probably the most spontaneous nation. Most of the people plan like 6 to 9 months in advance. So that's when all the prices will be the highest prices on airline tickets. I always do my research on apps like Skyscanner, So I also put like a really, if I'm a little bit flexible and don't have only the specific dates, I can really choose like a flexible time. I always look for two-ways tickets on those apps, but also do a one-way search, because sometimes one-way search can fly me to one of those cities like we said in Europe. Like I'm now this summer gonna fly to the States a little bit after the summer, and I'm gonna fly through Madrid. I want to visit Madrid, so I looked one way. I'm going direct because I found a good price ticket one way to me to fly back to Israel. But on the way there, I found that I can pay literally 35% of my cost ticket if I buy a plane ticket to Madrid that sometimes costs like 40 euros or $40, to arrive there. And then I have another flight for $180 to New York. And I have 3 days in the middle in Madrid because I'm flexible and I want to see Madrid. And there is a beautiful mountain range nearby that I love to be there and to hike there and to enjoy that special area of nature. So when you're flexible, you have more flexibility. So the search that, like, in one time maybe we can record the screen how I do it, just to show people, because you just can save $1,000 per ticket.
Let's add a video to this link description with some instructions on how to book flights.
Somebody want to see how I operate and do. If you're flexible, then you really can find the right ticket for very, very cheap.
Terrific. So some very important tips. So let's talk about the next thing, which is a hotel most of the time. So how to book the best hotel? Is it the same times? Booking right after you book your plane ticket? Should I book a hotel right after? Should I wait a little bit?
So I think if we divide traveling to Israel into like 3 different type of people, and let's answer that question for those 3 type of people, because the answer I'm gonna answer is more for solo travelers, the ones that want to book everything on their own, and maybe we'll take a day tour here, buy an attraction. Those people, we have the most amount of information for them, because if you're coming on an organized trip, you're like joining a group, you have dates, so you have no really a lot of choice. You can come 3 days before, 3 days later, and it's not really affecting the cost of the trip. That's already incorporated in the cost. I'm paying $3, $4, $5, $7, $11,000 for my trip. The hotels are part of it, so it's not affecting them. Private tours, people that hire companies like mine or private guide in order to organize their trip. They want a more organized trip. I would say that the best time for those and for independent travelers is to book as early as possible. So also I would say in hotels, not in flights, we have a very interesting time frame between 6 months and 8 months. This is we found that those are the cheapest compared to the same hotel, those are the cheapest rates. Then what we usually love to do, we love to follow. So in my company, I have a little software that is following up the quotes that we give. And if we find something cheaper, we will reduce the price for our guests, because at the end we are getting a commission, from the hotel. I don't really care. I can get a real value. So today, if you book on your own and you're traveling solo and you don't have anyone that organizing for you, book your hotel and then do on Google, write on Google, search, or not what you need to write is follow my rates. And there are several apps that you register your reservation and the cost, and it's always on alert. So you will get an email when the price drops. So one of the top secrets, or really the most important tips, don't get really pulled in by offers with no cancellation possibilities. We see it
and pay a little bit more for free cancellation. It's always worth it.
Because at the end, again, you have cancellation. So my trick, I'm going now, my plans are changing. So I actually was booking, like now on my trip, I was booking a hotel that I had an option to book for 700 euros, like my booking, if I have, it's not cancelable. I paid 790 euros. So means pretty much like another 12% with a cancellation up to 3 days before arrival. Then what happened? I changed my plans. So I canceled my reservation, but then I even can see that the price dropped. Like literally what happened is that our plans came back, so we're still going to this area. So I rebooked it, and now I'm paying 640 euros. So I basically, by buying a more expensive booking, I give myself an opportunity to cancel if the prices are changing. And with those apps that we have that helping us to follow, it is the way to, in just one booking, boom, 100 something euros, you save like 20% of the booking is done and it's saved. So I always say, pay a little bit extra so you will be covered on the cancellation, and then plug it into a app that is following and doing it for you. If the price drops underneath, you can cancel and rebook.
Exactly.
Do the same thing.
Exactly. It's so important because a lot of people sometimes mistake a little bit, like taking the wrong month or the day before or day after. So all of those things, because of that, it happened to me a few times. And it was very difficult to cancel even 2 minutes after the booking. So since then, I always take a free cancellation on everything, including on flights. Because I remember I traveled to Abu Dhabi last year, and I took a flight at $500 with cancellation. That's my luck. And maybe 1 week or 2 weeks before the flight, I saw that there is a new airline coming, flying to Abu Dhabi, which gives the same flight at 90 euros. So I just saved $400 for surging it. That's amazing.
That's really, I think it's a very important tip. I would book as early, if we're summarizing it into when to book my hotel, summarizing it into one sentence that people need to remember, book it as early as possible with cancellation.
Exactly.
And the best cancellation policy, like at least a week, or 2 weeks before arrival.
And free cancellation, and make sure that you get actual money back to your account and not a credit in the hotel site or in the airline site, because you can use it sometimes only for a year and you don't need it, and you try to sell it, it becomes an issue. So try to search and make sure that you get your money back to your account, because it's very, very important. There's a lot of tricks involving airlines and hotels. So make sure about that. So let's talk about another issue that a lot of people that coming from abroad talking about it, about the expense, the expense amount of traveling Israel. A lot of people think that Israel is very, very expensive, too much expensive. So what do you think about that? Maybe it depends also on the time you travel.
I think first of all, if you want to understand the seasons and the cost, which one is the cheapest, just go and watch our episode about the seasons. We talked about it a little bit on the general cost. Like if you do the same trip during the different season, it will cost you different in different seasons. But Israel, generally speaking, is an expensive country. You live here, I live here. Just to put things like in years of comparison to to an American listener that is a North American listener. So try to imagine that in the States, somebody buying a car for $30,000 or for $50,000. The same car in Israel gonna cost 110% more because of our taxes. So I buy a car in America for $30,000, I will pay here more than 60. I buy for $50,000, I pay $105,000. That means that our transportation fees are more expensive than in the States, because also the gas is more expensive. Like we buying a gallon that it's pretty much 4 liters for about $8, between 7 to 8.30, 8.50 cents. So the country is expensive. The restaurants are expensive. So if
The
somebody comes here,
supermarkets are
the
expensive.
supermarkets are expensive. Everything is generally compared to home more expensive. But there are ways to travel on budget. For me, when people come to Israel, I try to concentrate when I have guests in different levels. Some people we work with, they have no problem of budget and it's great. You can do a lot of experiences. But people that have a little bit of budget that they want to stand in, I always start from planning my experience because Israel is a super land of experiences. The tourism industry here in a high level means the experiences and the things you can do in Israel are insane, are really fun and really cool. So treat Israel not as a place where I'm buying a resort on the beach and I'm enjoying the hotel. So I would say when you're traveling on budget, put your money on the real important thing, and that's the experiences, the tour guide that putting everything in context. And if you want to save money, rent a car. Don't take a guide with a car. It's not saving a lot, but it's still going to save you $200 a day. That comes together on a 10-day trip for $2,000. So I would say be ready to spend in Israel an average for a family that traveling here. I would say a day with a private tour guide and a private car that will take them around with no experiences, nothing in the middle, but including all the expenses of the car will be anywhere between $900 to $1,200, and depends on the vehicle quality, depends on the guide quality, things like this. But anywhere on the edges, then you can be suspicious. If somebody sells you a day with a car for $700 or $650, ask yourself why. If somebody sells it for $1,400 or $1,500, ask yourself why. Okay, we have guides. We have guides that with no vehicle charging $1,500 a day, but those are expert in their world, and this is what they do. They are doing something very specific. But this is the basic cost, and then I would say about $200 to $300 a day for a family of 4 to 6 people for activities and experiences from national parks, jeep rides, rappelling, stargazing. This is the budget we need to think about. When you finish that section, you left with hotels. And hotels, we have hostels. And the hostel level in Israel, you still pay about $200 per room per night. Like if you put 4 people in a room, and that will be around $50 per person in a hostel. Not like literally something called youth hostel, that they are beautiful, they are in great locations, they are clean, hot showers, perfect, great breakfast, not the amazing breakfast that some of the hotels in Israel is famous for, but it's good enough because most of the day you're outside. You're not in the hotel. So I always a big believer, spend your money on experiences. They stay with you longer, especially when traveling with kids.
Yeah, and Israel has also a lot of free activities. We talked about in earlier episode about the beautiful nature, which is most of the time free or in a very low fees, if it's the national parks. And a lot of beaches and the desert and a lot of other places that most of them are free. So there's a lot of stuff to see and to do, even in smaller budgets.
Completely. And for many of the activities that people with higher budget will take those activities as private. If you plan right, like for example, stargazing, if you take it as a private event, it can cost anywhere between $400 to $600 for no matter how many people. You come with 1 person or 12 people, it's the same cost. But if you're joining, you can find yourself doing a stargazing in the middle of the desert with an astronom expert using laser and telescopes to look up and you pay as low as $30 per person. So suddenly a family of four paying $120 instead of paying $450 or $500, depends on, the telescopes,
Yeah.
usually how many, what size, things like this. So I would say this is something to consider. We have a lot. This country is really built for the independent traveler. I would say if you're coming with families and with, or if you're like younger and you want also a great vibe, I would look into Abraham hostels. We have one in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, in Eilat, one in Nazareth that is really beautiful. They have a very good vibe. You have private rooms, you have dormitory, but everybody like they have a great common spaces. The rooms are simple, but the common spaces are perfect. The bar or the restaurant that is connected is really good as well. So there are very good alternative lodging in Israel, including something called Zimmerim. It's coming from a German word for like huts. A lot of the families around the north, the south, will have like 3 or 4 huts in their backyard. It's usually on a moshav or a kibbutz where you have more space. And this is a great opportunity to have very good quality of lodging, anywhere between $200 to $300 a night for a tourist, but you get to interact with the local people and the hosts. A lot of them making their own olive oil or their jams or their cheese, and you suddenly have a local recommendation. You become part of the family in many ways. So this is great for the north and the south.
And the breakfast is very, very good and
The
fresh.
breakfast
Yeah,
is
for sure.
just like, that's like I know exactly if it's breakfast time and I have my time machine, to press the button, I probably need like 15 days to go around my favorite breakfast spots in bed and breakfast. That's the Zimmerim. It's bed and breakfast all around Israel. Great way. Another way to save on accommodation. I'm cutting into that accommodation, and we're talking a lot about it because some people say I have a budget and I will get a better accommodation and I will give up for 1 or 2 touring days. That in my eyes is such a big mistake because you can use Airbnb. Get a nice apartment in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. There are great coffee shops for breakfast.
For a fraction of the price in Tel Aviv.
Yes, exactly. And then you save. There are great solutions for saving on accommodation because there are no great solutions for real to save on a good experience. There are, when you pay less, usually that's what you get less. If you're asking yourself why I pay for this guide $280 for a day or this one charging $450, there is a good reason for that, probably. And experience is something that stays as an emotional fingerprint, especially when you come to this land that have a story and a history. And for many people, no matter if they're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Sufis, I don't know, there is something that is energetic and it's have a connection, a spiritual connection to this land. So this is an emotional visit for many people that can affect people's life back at home. So I really feel that this is the one thing that no matter where you travel, I spend more money, personally, I spend more money on food and experiences anywhere I travel than on staying. Because if I have a nice room, I will stay longer. If I have not as nice room, I will go out. I also travel a lot. I don't go for a vacation of 10 days. I always take a vacation because we're exploring different destinations. This is my job. They call it a job.
You need to research. Yeah, they call it a job.
Research.
Exactly.
We have guests. My company, we serving people that traveled with us in Israel, in Egypt, in Jordan. I have families that travel with me here and in Morocco or Italy. Now I had a family that asked me to prepare a trip for them in Thailand. I said I was not in Thailand before. So they sent me to research Thailand. It takes me 4 days usually to create one perfect touring day. And I usually after 4 days can create one touring day for all types of people. Like means for adult groups, families, disinterest, outdoory, not outdoory, foodie. It is phenomenal thing to do. So I travel for longer. So lodging, I go to check all the high-end hotels because that's most of our guests looking for like unique and special accommodation. So I go to check. Sometimes I stay in them. But most of those places inviting me to really do a research and like to feel it and to experience it. But when I'm traveling, I usually love to find and be more in the local community personally. So I would stay in Airbnb. I use a lot Airbnb or any other platforms that are different in every country, but also renting out like local houses or apartments because we don't stay a lot of time there. I prefer to spend that money if I go for so long on good food or in a sunrise hot air balloon in some beautiful area, like an activity that I will not think twice because my budget went on accommodation.
For sure. And you talked a little bit about your group tours. So we talked a little bit about solo travelers, about how they should book their flight and their travel and their accommodation. But let's talk a little bit about group bookings. When you should book a tour, when is the best time, what you should know when you book a group tour.
So first of all, you need to do a research. Who is the provider? Okay, who is the provider? Do they do group tours? There are some great providers outside that are doing group tours most of the time on weekly basis, sometimes on monthly basis. There are some great providers that have a tour or two or three a year. So as soon as you know you want to go on your dates that you are available, go online and find the tour and sign up. Like I would say, don't wait with it. It will put something that in your schedule, you will get excited about it. Make sure that you buy a good insurance. Okay, when you pay for a group tour, the cancellation fees vary between company to company, but when you buy an insurance, you many times get a credit with those companies for a next time to join a tour, but then the insurance company will pay you for that expense. So basically, if you're canceling for some reason and you have an insurance, you may find yourself doing a free trip because the insurance paid you back, but then the company many times holding that credit for you to use. We do like a special unique tours, so they are limited edition. We don't do group tours in my company. We do mainly private tours or organized groups. So if it's a group that is coming organized from home, we build for them in their own dates. So we know how to do that. And our group tours are very, very unique. They are usually anywhere between, like $10,000 to $20,000 because they are one of a kind. I actually build them for myself. So, like
That's the best kind of
I will,
tours,
I will
right?
create a tour that I would love to do. So everything is unique, from accommodation to the level of service to the experiences and the doors that will open only for us one time. Special people will come to talk to us. Everything done in a very, very high end, and it's not only in Israel. It's in different places that I go and explore, and I get an insight. So we're probably not a good place to look for a group tour unless you're looking for something that is unique, specific with a special interest. It's great for second timers or first timers that are coming with some kind of like an interest. If they want a wine tour or follow the Israeli alcohol, that's a tour we have. If there is something that is led by a famous chef or culinary experience, great. We do nature wonders of Israel, great. But it is a unique interest for people. If you want a one-on-one kind of like a first-timers classic tour, there are great providers. If you want a list of them, just drop us a message, and I'm happy to provide you my recommended list. This podcast is not affiliated with any company. I want just to give an information. So there are some colleagues of mine that I really respect that doing great group tours, and that I really recommend to take.
Terrific. So if anyone wants, he can reach out to you. So let's talk a little bit about age groups, because as we talked on other podcasts and today, there are lots of different types of travelers. Most of them are considered between an adult group or a family with kids. So let's talk a little bit about the regions of Israel and about which of them matches any age group.
Okay, so maybe like last word that I thought about to summarize the groups or private. Like consider that at the end, a 10-day trip on a group tour is equals to about 7 days private tour. You can do 7 days in 7 days, like the same amount of touring when you do with a big group, a full bus, 40 plus people on a group tour, because somebody need to go to the bathroom, somebody is late from shopping, you have a lot of waiting involved. So on that group tours, I would recommend the ones that doing smaller group tours, like up to 20 people, because then you are really enjoying that world of joining a group and getting a little bit better price than if you do the same trip privately. It's not as long as waits, like between the places to gather everybody, all the movement is much slower. Or consider in the same budget, going a little bit shorter and doing a trip that is private trip. Now for your question about areas and what I recommend for different
And age groups, yes.
So look, for me, I love to personalize the tours. That's why I find it amazing that I can personalize the tour to Israel to people's interest. If I have a kid that is playing lacrosse, I will try to make sure he meets the lacrosse Israeli national team. If I have somebody that is interested in the geopolitics, I will make sure that we'll get them in a closed military area with a geopolitical expert or something like this. So those are the examples that we can talk about. But generally speaking, when adults come here, so I'm going to divide it to basically 3 age groups, like adults, no matter what the age. Then I would divide it to families with teenagers and families with young kids. Okay, so basically speaking, as an adult, you want to be in Jerusalem, you want to be in Tel Aviv. Those 2 places have beautiful museums, have beautiful sight walking. When Jerusalem, we're talking about an old history, from the city of David, that is an archaeological site that goes and dates back 3,000 years, with great stories and debates about the Bible. Does the Bible meaning something? Is that a history book? What different archaeologists think about the Bible? But it's literally starting there. The old city, the 4 quarters of the old city is super interesting. So no matter if your faith is Christian or Jewish, you can put a little bit more of like concentrating on that faith, but understand the 3 religions. It's also like kind of our Washington. That's where our government, it's the most diverse city, with half of the citizens are Arabs that are living in the eastern parts. A lot of the citizens are ultra-Orthodox. So I would say for somebody that is adult group, usually want to understand the complexity, Jerusalem is perfect for that. Tel Aviv, more about the art, more about the wine, more about the alcohol, like milk and honey that we mentioned before. Jaffa is the old city, that's the port city, so it's a great artist colony there. Tel Aviv is a brand new city. brand new. It's literally a city that was built on sand by some dreamers. So that's perfect for adult as well. And then depends on the season. Like I love to go in the winter to the south, in the summer to the north, and every single part we will adjust it to the interest of the group. It can be visiting farms in the south that are independent farms and their technology to do agriculture in the desert. You know, one of the best surprises, the best faces I ever saw was in a group of adults in their 70s that he is like picking up. We're visiting a farm that's growing strawberries or strawberries
Wow.
in the desert.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Hanging, not even on the floor. So he's like eating this sweet strawberry. And he's like, I could not imagine that a strawberry will be growing in the desert. And I have, like, I'm a little bit crying or like I have goosebumps just from thinking about it. So for them is a great interest. But I think it's at the end of framing because that's, one is adult, so they want a lot of informations, maybe physically a little bit more limited. If it's a good fit adult group, there are great hikes, like really, really nice or short nature walks. But this is for the adults. North, the same thing. Going to the border, seeing the border, the geopolitics are very interesting. Middle Eastern geopolitics are super interesting,
Yeah.
especially for North Americans that are coming into
They hear
Israel.
about it at the news all the
The
time,
news,
and
yeah,
now they see
that's-
the news in real time.
It's complicated also to understand.
Yeah.
So we have great experts that are really putting everything in a simple way. Next time, no matter what news channel you're watching, you are going to go back home and you will understand the news much better. So that's, I think, in the north, wineries and Tzfat with its artist galleries and Ein Od with homes of artists that you can visit, and Haifa with the Baha'i gardens, another new religion that is right there and the center of the world is here. So I personally love it. For kids with teenagers, I would say everywhere is good. Just the way to build it is a little bit different. Teenagers, most of them need some kind of an energy releaser, almost like a pressure, like a button that you release that. How you do it? With hands-on activities. So you can still visit Jerusalem, you can still go to the city of David, but in the city of David, you will walk through the Chazakaya tunnel with flashlights in a dark tunnel, with natural water of the spring running through it. It will be amazing. In Tel Aviv, you will join a non-profit organization like Hagal Shali that's rescuing, kids and youth in risk from the streets by teaching them surfing. So you can join, that organization for a surfing lesson if you're in the summer for 3 hours, and your teachers, your surfing instructors will be those kids that completed the program. So it's not just like fun, pure fun. It's also studying about giving back, some values that we want to give to those teenagers, thinking about the other success, like surfing is the reason why these two guys started that organization is because through surfing, if you try enough, you will stand on the board. Even a person like me that have no coordination in my legs, especially on standing, I had my 10 seconds of glory surfing. So
I haven't had them. I tried a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't.
So you need to try more.
I need
That's
to try
what they
more.
say.
Yeah, that's why I live close to the sea, so I can try more.
And younger kids, there are things that you can build. Mosaics, again, do something educational, but make sure that they have a lot of rest, a lot of things to do with their hands, like joining an archaeological dig. real archaeological dig, or a sifting project in Jerusalem. In Tel Aviv, there are some active museums that is very interesting to go and visit, or interactive museums like the Palmach Museum, or we have a beautiful place called the Bullet Factory, Machon Ayalon, the Ayalon Institute. That is a story of a kibbutz that was secretly built on top of an ammunition factory. I will not spoil to anyone that is going to visit, but you literally, like, kids are like, oh my God, I'm getting under the washing machine that used to do noise, and there is a secret staircase,
Yeah.
like in all the stories that we read about, as kids, for these social secret societies and some groups. So those are the things that I recommend with younger kids. But always, kids, start something in the morning that is more serious, and then afternoon, no matter what is the age, more hands-on. More hands-on. Like, don't let them lose it. Just have it to enjoy, no matter if it's a bike tour, archaeological dig, cooking class, or baking class, challah baking before Shabbat. It's a great thing to do,
Yeah.
like hands-on, and have your own challah on Saturday that you snack with Israeli chocolate paste called hashachal. That is, it's like,
It's
it's a
unique, very
smile.
unique.
It's a
Yeah.
smile that every kid can have on
Yeah.
their face.
For sure. So I think that maybe the best conclusion from this episode is that we gave a lot of good tips and how to book your accommodation and your flight and your insurance and your group. But the best thing about what you do in your company, or anyone else that listens us should do, is to match the tour, match the attractions, match the events you do to those people in the group. So think about what makes you interesting. Spend more time in your food and in your attractions and in your experiences than in your hotel. So I think this is the best way to go. There is anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, maybe, because look, what I said, because my company personally, or the companies I'm involved with, we traveling usually on the like upper middle class. It's a private tours with a lot of details when we operate them. But I want to offer to our listeners some kind of like a little present. I want to offer them a customized, budgeted itinerary planning, private, personal itinerary planning. Why? Because I feel that it's for me to create a good trip for a family that even will come by themselves, like independent traveler that want to come and book their own hotels and their own flight and buy all the tickets. They still need to understand how much is it all cost, and what will be the logic way to do that, and who should they call if they want to book a jeep tour. So we actually have a service that we are planning the first draft and the second draft itinerary for people, just planning and budgeting every single part by line. So you will get a full idea how a trip that is customized for you will look like and how much it will cost. No matter if you do it with us or anyone by yourself, book everything, you will know what will be your budget for that section, because then you can book hotels based on your global budget. And we usually do that service for $600. What I want to give for those that listening, if you ever listen, you want somebody to go on Zoom with you for about 30 minutes to understand who you are, then send you a questionnaire that is understanding a little bit deeper who you are. Okay, then build you a first draft itinerary priced by line. If it's a national park that costs $8, you will see the cost of $8 there. But the first draft itinerary is another way to get to know the people that want to do a private tour, because from one Zoom call and one questionnaire, you have a limitation on how much you know. We build the first draft itinerary in a way that 60% is based on what people, what we really think will fit for this group. But then 40% we throw in things to see the reaction. That's why we always do that. Offer is to the second draft. We're going to do another draft based on the reaction, because that's the best way for us to like build a trip. Usually statistically, when we do it in my company, we have most of the people like twinkle, and the changes from the second draft to whatever draft for the final draft of their trip will be is maybe 10% different. So by that second draft, you'll have a personalized itinerary, and it's only for $199, just because I want to share that, that knowledge. Like the whole idea of this podcast was like, we have so much knowledge. Not everybody can afford, our service. So how do I give people to visit Israel and fall in love? Because maybe later on, one of them will have an impact on the Israel-American relationship. Maybe one of them will remember us in the right moment. Maybe they will come back. So it's just unbelievable relationship. So that's an offer I want to put out there and really give to anybody that listen to us. If you want to plan a trip, don't be our client. It's okay, but at least get a personalized, customized, made, like a tailor-made trip for you and your group, your family, your group of friends, your free generational. We have that knowledge. We want to share it. So that's like literally an offer for those that listening to us until the end. So
Yeah,
because
that's amazing.
not everybody listen to the end, so we don't need.
Only the best ones
Yes,
listen to the end. So that's why we're giving him this amazing offer. So it will wait to you on the link description wherever you are listening or watching. So again, Beni Levin, thank you so much for this episode. I learned a lot, and I'm an Israeli native. So I guess that everyone who listens learned a lot as well. So thank you again.
Or thank you for your input, because it's also like, hotels and flights. We all have different systems. I think it's very, very good to understand like how much those small little tips, if we summarize it right, like buy your tickets ahead of time, just do it cancelable, like with a no cancellation fee. The same thing for hotels. Use smart apps that are available today in our time of 2023 is available for everybody to use to follow the costs. And just I would say call us to do your own like save yourself like 20 hours of research and just
and
get
a lot of money
and really get the best people. I think at the end it's all about the people. Everywhere you visit, for me, it's not about seeing the Eiffel Tower. It's okay, everybody can say. It's about the people, the culture, the food. It's what interesting. And Israel in that level is probably the best place to be. It's,
for sure.
People is the magic.
Couldn't agree more. So once again, Beni Levin, thank you so much for this episode.
Thank you
so much for listening. See you next time.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye.